everybody, and welcome to the 19th episode of Brent Ewing's Hey Buddy podcast, and the third week where we're talking about Michigan football and Big Ten football in general. But most of our focus is on Michigan. This week, Michigan went to Indiana and had a pretty rough time. So we're going to discuss that. We're going to touch on the rest of the Big Ten as well as the big game in Notre Dame with Notre Dame and Clemson, and we also touch on Georgia and Florida. So thanks for listening, guys, and I hope you enjoy the episode. Back for week 3 of this train wreck of a season so far.
That's pretty much about the perfect way to put it.
I was about 8 weeks into kindergarten the last time Indiana beat Michigan in '87. So 24 straight wins, man. What the heck? What's going on?
I really don't know, to be honest. I mean, I thought after the miss at Michigan State game that they would shore up a few things, maybe change up a few. Well, they did change up one big thing, and that was the defense. They decided to go to a straight zone, and that just did not work. My prediction from last week, I guess I don't remember exactly what the number was I put on there as far as the score, but I know we lost. But it was ugly. I thought Penix would beat us with his feet, moving outside the pocket, and he did not. He didn't have to. He absolutely shredded the zone defense with ease.
Unreal, wasn't it? I mean, they come in. Indiana's obviously much improved, and they've been on the upswing for the last few years. They've played us close. There's a couple games we probably should have lost to them, but ended up pulling out a couple years ago at the goal line. There was a little goal line stand, little bobble. We ended up knocking the ball away and winning by a point or two. But they come in at 2-0 off a big win over. Obviously, they had beaten Penn State to begin the season, and they come in and just took us to the woodshed, man. 38-21. At Indiana, obviously. Not that it matters right now. The home field advantage doesn't make much of a difference. I know we had the one listener who was asking us what we thought of home field advantage now with no crowds, and really to me, not much of a difference, especially in a place like Indiana or a place like Michigan even. If you're going to Happy Valley or Death Valley or Columbus, places like that, the home field advantage is a huge deal. But
Absolutely.
At Camp Randall even, but any other place in the Big Ten or really in the country, there's only a few places that home field really makes that much of a difference. But man, we go in with just I thought for sure, I think I had us winning by like 17. I thought we would come out. They're going to come out inspired. They get embarrassed by Michigan State, who we'll talk about later, laid an egg, this weekend. But I thought they would come out inspired, man, and they come out. I loved the opening, the opening coin toss. We win the toss. Hey, we're taking the ball. We want to show, what we got. And then you go 3 and out. Like you can't do that. I think they went 3 and out on their first 2 possessions. Just ugly play calling. First play, Gaddis decides to run the ball right up the middle again. I don't understand what he's doing. You're supposed to be, quote, speed and space. You're not using the space. You're trying to run between the tackles. You come in with Mayfield and Hayes both out. I think our offensive line had 8 career starts between them coming into the game.
I saw that.
And it's just like, man, you got to get outside. You got guys who are quick. Use that speed, but he never did.
You're right, he did not. We've harped on it for the past 2 times we've been talking about speed and space and trying to get these guys going to the outside and mixing up the offense. And like I said before, it's run up the middle for a yard. Again, I said, I thought we were done with that from a couple years ago, but he just seems to go right back to it. And like you said, the first 2 drives, stall. 3 and out, 3 and out. I think they had, in the first 2 drives, there was 6 plays for 4 total yards.
Unbelievable.
4 total yards. After that, they got a little bit moving. They had that big penalty where I don't know what he was doing. The kid threw a punch against Bell, and obviously, they toss him out. I think it may have been the next play or the play after that. We actually go downfield. We took a shot downfield.
Mm-hmm.
To Cornelius Jones. Great throw. great route, good catch, came down with it. And after that, it was back to where we were before. Next drive, I don't know if it was 3 and out, but we ended up punting. And then the following one, it was the same thing. I think it was 3 and out in the punt. So pretty much, I think in the first 5 possessions that he had, Milton was 3 of 9. 3 of 9 passing with 1 touchdown. And it just so happens that we actually took the shot and he did catch it. Otherwise, 2 of 9 without the touchdown if he doesn't bring that ball in.
Right, absolutely. And, on that play, Cornelius Johnson made a great catch and Milton made a great pass. That was a laser beam, perfect spot to put it, great catch coming down with it. But it just makes you shake your head and wonder why they aren't doing this more. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me.
They don't. And like we've said before, even the announcer, and this is funny, the announcer said Cornelius Johnson with the catch, and he says, that is their biggest receiver.
Mm-hmm.
He says that is actually one of their only big receivers.
Absolutely.
And, just like you said before, that's it, like we've been talking. You've got no big guys to go up and get those jump balls like that, so they just got to do something and use these guys and use that speed that they have to get them out into space, make them run these good routes, and hope that he can put the ball where he needs to.
Right, and like you said, man, they just aren't taking those deep shots. In the first half, Milton just looked completely lost. He looked like he looked like a kid who shouldn't be there. The reads just weren't there. One thing I did like, he held into the pocket more this week. He didn't take off. He didn't look to run as quickly. But even on the times he ran, it's like this kid's not fast. You watch him and you were hoping for a Braxton Miller type of kid, but man, this kid, he just doesn't have those wheels. He took off a few times to the outside and they, got a couple tackles for loss. But yeah, just brutal in the first half. Again, no sense of urgency at all in the game at any time. Yeah. No fire.
And no emotion. Yeah, exactly what you said. No emotion. There's no
one time, Ronnie Bell, big catch big catch in the third quarter. I believe it was the third quarter. Got up and let's go. And that was it. Like, there's nobody else involved, nobody else in on it. And to me, dude, it starts at the top. It starts with that coaching. Harbaugh has completely lost this team. They have no identity right now. I don't know who is left on the schedule that I feel comfortable playing. It's just to a point where
there's nobody at this point that I feel comfortable playing. I mean, Minnesota, even I was surprised, honestly, that we did play as good of a game against Minnesota as we did.
Mm-hmm.
And then you turn around and have Michigan State, who I thought, would have a down year, and we would have a good game against them. Indiana, like, it's been 1987 since we've lost to Indiana, and I was like, well, we should have a decent shot here. And now if you come in and do, if they do play Wisconsin because of the whole COVID issues from the past couple of weeks, I mean, Wisconsin's a tough team.
Absolutely.
They have been for a while. They'll take the ball nowhere down your throat. They'll have it if they play their Wisconsin will have that ball 3 times the amount of time of possession that Michigan will.
Well,
they'll run it down their throat the whole time.
In this game, Indiana had the ball 38 minutes and 50 seconds to Michigan's 21 minutes and 10 seconds. So 17 more minutes they had the ball, man. And like I said, they did what they wanted. They just, they took the ball down, they shoved it down our throats. The game was really out of reach before we even knew it. 24-7 at halftime. You go in feeling defeated already, the way Milton was playing in that first half. Comes out, you're hoping that Brown makes a little bit of adjustments, which, I don't know if he's capable of. I mean, it's to that point of, okay, they did, start to go zone this game, but the zone got picked apart. So I thought, well, they're going to go back to their bread and butter. They're going to go back to man-to-man. And they didn't. They stayed, and they let this young quarterback who has maybe, after Phillip Rivers, maybe the ugliest arm motion I've ever seen. It's like he's Sam Perkins. I don't know if you remember Sam Perkins, the basketball player, trying to shoot. He looks like a football version of Sam Perkins. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
But, man, he picked us apart. He played well. We got back into it there a little bit, I thought. we cut it down to 31-21 late in the game, got the ball back. I'm like, okay, we're going to, hopefully we can put something together. But I think it was right at that point I texted you and I said, man, Milton's about to throw a pick. And it wasn't 2 plays later. Two plays. Milton threw that big pick. And that was just, that turned into the ball game. They ended up going up, big and end up winning 38-21. And it was just ugly, uninspired, frustrating, to a point where anytime they showed Harbaugh on the screen, dude, I had to look away from the screen. I'm that frustrated. Same with Brown. That frustrated and that disgusted with the display. There's just no fire, no want to, no urgency. You're down big. You're down 24-7. You're walking to the line of scrimmage. There's nobody getting up. It's very frustrating at this point. And you look at Milton's numbers. They look like, man, look at that. 18 for 34, 344, 3 TDs, 2 crucial picks at late in the game. But that's it. The running game was non-existent. What are they doing? Charbonnet has 1 carry. Evans 3 for 5. Haskins 6 for 19. Corum, they let him.
I don't know that.
Corum ran twice for -3 yards. Jackson had -3 yards. Milton -9 yards. It's like, what are they doing? I really don't get it. I don't get what they're doing. I think they had something like either 13 or 16 total rushing yards in the game.
I think it was 13. They awful. Ended up 18 carries for 13 yards. And, again, that part of that is run up the middle, 1 yard, run up the middle, maybe try something to the side for 1-2 yards, and now all of a sudden you're third and long. Just like we said last week, you can't keep doing that. I don't know if they need to try to pass on first down. That way they can, try to pull the defenders back and try to open something up. I mean, it's a possibility. Anything's better than what they're doing right now. Like you said, Milton's numbers weren't terrible. 344, 3 touchdowns, 2 big picks, but there was one that he overthrew Bell. I mean, Bell was wide open.
Oh, touchdown written all over
the middle. Absolutely. I mean, he was wide open. He just put a little too much, and he needs to get that touch on it. He threw a laser when he needed to get just a little bit of air under it. And that comes with being young. I mean, probably a big moment for him. He's trying to get the game, trying to get back in the game. So his emotions are high, and he just got a little bit too much onto it.
One thing
that just comes with time.
One thing you touched on was the third downs, man. And we've been putting ourselves in positions where it's 3rd and long. Every game is 3rd and long, 3rd and long, 3rd and long.
All the time.
And we're not picking them up. We went 3 for 11. They went 3 for 11 this game in 3rd downs. Conversely, Indiana comes in as the 5th worst team in the nation on 3rd down conversions. I think they were like 26%. And they come out and go 9 for 18, plus 2 for 2.
You know why?
2 for 2 on 4th downs.
Because of the zone defense.
Absolutely.
You can pick apart a zone. If your line gives you any bit of time to throw the ball, you can pick apart a zone defense all day long.
Yep, and like you said,
that's all you got to do is allow for the receiver to get into a spot where the zone is weak, and that's it.
Absolutely, and like you said, no pressure for the 2nd week in a row, 0 sacks. Kwity Paye's banged up; he's coming in and out of the game. Aiden Hutchinson, I don't know if you read the report, but he's out indefinitely, so he's he's likely done for the season. But there's just nobody there that's getting pressure. Carlo Kemp he's playing pretty well. Luigi Villain's playing pretty well, but there's just not that one guy who's getting in there, man. For a team like this who likes to blitz as much as they do, to not have any sacks the last 2 weeks, that's just unheard of.
It's sad. Yeah, it's ridiculous. And like we said before, the first game there was constant pressure on the defense the defense had against Minnesota. We were in the backfield a lot, and I was like, man, I like this. I hope this is the way it's going to be all season. And since then, we've had none.
Absolutely. Definitely frustrating.
It is. I don't know if it's just this. I don't know what it is. If it's his schemes, if it's certain, if he's just not calling the right type of blitz. Because, like you said, he likes to blitz a lot, and I'm fine with blitz and all. I'd like to bring pressure in there, but you got to bring enough pressure to where you can actually get to the quarter. Otherwise, it does nothing. And the only other thing I'll really say, as far as this defense goes, is their absolute lack of discipline.
Absolutely.
I mean, penalties were horrible. They were multiple penalties of offsides. And 2 of them they ended up getting touchdowns on because they just threw the ball up because they knew they had a free play.
Yep, they ended up penalized 8 times for 89 yards, and like you said, 2 of those offsides penalties didn't even count because they were caught for touchdowns by Indiana.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so take 2 of them away, or add 2 of them to it. But that's just it's the lack of discipline. I mean, if you're on the defensive line, I don't care if the guy's got a hard snap, if he's clapping, if he's singing a tune and doing a dance. Just watch the football; it's right in front of you.
Yeah, and that starts from the top, man. That lack of discipline starts from the top. Poor old Vincent Gray got picked on again, and it's to a point where at what point I don't know if Andre Seldon's a cornerback. He's a freshman kid who it's like, dude, can he not step in and try to take over for Gray? Can we maybe move Dax Hill to that spot? Something's got to be done because the poor kid's getting embarrassed week in and week out, and it's not fair to him. He's trying.
Absolutely.
He's trying, man.
He's giving it his all.
Who am I to
that's all you can ask a kid to do is go out there and do his best.
But unfortunately, it's not working. At that level, if it's not working, you can only give chance. A chance after chance after chance is not. It's not helping the ball club. So, man, if you're struggling, give them a game off. Start somebody else back there. Give them some experience. Let's see if they can step in. Maybe give it a spark. Anything is better than what you got going back there right now.
I agree. I completely agree.
Because Penix just... Go ahead.
No, you're right. Something's got to give. And I was going to say, I would much rather... I hate zone defense. I can't stand it because, like I've said, if you get any bit of protection from your offensive line, it is going to get picked apart.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather them go away from the zone again, go back to man, and just pull your safeties out. Give the corners help from the safeties and let your front seven... just the front seven attempt to get to the quarterback, but at least you've got that safety help. I would rather them get beat man to man and have the receiver beat a corner and a safety, and then take my chance on zone defense and just have 5-10 yards at a time, because that is embarrassing.
Absolutely, man. Well, we touched on Milton's numbers earlier. One guy I thought had a little breakout game, and it was good to see. Ronnie Bell finally stepped up. Bell 6 catches, 149 yards and a touchdown. We saw Cornelius with the 4 catches, 82 yards and a touchdown. But just that running up the middle and not having, I mean, I get you want to get all the running backs touches, but man, you got to have that 1 or 2. You got to have those 2 featured backs, man. You can't give Charbonnet 1 carry. 1 carry. This is your team's best runner from last year, and he's got maybe 9 or 10 carries on the season. If you take out the sacks, take out the sack yardage taken away, Michigan had 15 carries for 33 yards from their running backs. In the previous 2 games, Indiana's opponents ran 80 times for 414 yards. That was Penn State and Rutgers, right? And Michigan ran 15 times.
5 something a carry.
Right? And Michigan, a little over 5. And Michigan runs 15 times for 33 yards. That's just unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable.
Oh, completely. I don't understand that. I really don't.
I thought after a week where he was kind of banged up the week before, as far as defense goes, I thought Mike Barrett came back, played pretty well. I think he had 11 total tackles. Brad Hawkins had 12 total tackles, which you never want to see. Your DBs have that that many tackles. Plus, he had a big pass deflection that would have been an easy interception for Daxton Hill. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. So nice to see him get up and get his hand on the ball, but kind of took a chance away from us there late in the game when we needed it.
I agree. And I mean, I don't know. It's frustrating.
Very much.
when you see DBs like that coming at a ball, and for the DB to actually get to the ball, because it seems like they can never find it. But for them to actually get there and have a chance to catch a ball, and then get a hand on it, and they can't do anything with it. It's aggravating.
Absolutely. Well, like you said, man, we'll touch on Penix a little bit more. He ended up 30 for 50 for 342 and 3 touchdowns. I think he could have thrown for 500 yards, to be honest, if he wanted to. Ty Freifogel.
Yeah, I have no doubt.
Freifogel, 7 catches, 142 yards and a TD. Walt Fillier, 11 for 79. I mean, he's got some really good receivers. You got Stevie Scott in the backfield, 24 carries, 97 yards, 2 TDs. But just the fact that they came out and on that first drive, Penix went 7 for 9, 60 yards and a TD on the very first drive. When Michigan went 3 and out, it set the tone right there, and they just could not. Michigan could not find a way to get back in it.
I agree.
Indiana dominated.
I agree. It was
460 total yards for Indiana to 357 for Michigan on the day, and just Don Brown's completely, again, as much as Harbaugh's lost the team, Don Brown's lost the team. He's lost the confidence. I think I said it last week. I'll reiterate it this week. They both need to go. It's just time. I was watching the Michigan Football Report. Shout out to James Yoder, who actually retweeted us last week to give us a few listeners, so that was nice. If you get a chance, listen to the Michigan Football Report with James Yoder. It's really good. But same thing, man. He's like, Harbaugh, thank you, but it's time to go. And I'm still on that bandwagon, man. I think you gotta. It's time to cut bait.
The more the season goes, and the more you watch, just the lack of discipline, the lack of fire that they did have at one point. It's frustrating to see them so bland over on the sideline. I mean, there is no emotion. I remember a few years ago, Harbaugh throwing clipboards. His signature, what the heck, arms out, and there goes the clipboard flying. And it's you just don't have that anymore. You don't have that emotion that they did have. And I mean, if they come out and fire him tomorrow, then obviously there's nothing I can do about it. But I would completely understand and almost agree with it.
Right.
Don Brown, like you said, he's had great defenses overall in the past few years. But then again, like you said before, you get to those big games, like when you play Ohio State and you play in these bowl games and these bigger, good teams, and they light him up. They pick him apart. They run the schemes. They know how to play against him.
Right.
And they do it well. And in my opinion, Gaddis, I really liked play calling from that first game. Hardly ever did we go up the middle. I'm not saying you abandon running up the middle, but you got to mix it up. And he's it's just not working right now. Play calling he has just isn't that great.
Right. We had another back to the offensive side of the ball for a minute. We had another big drop by Eric All again. This poor kid it's not cutting it. Gonna have to go back to Eubanks as that number one tight end. Get him more involved. I liked the Roman Wilson stepping up again and catching a touchdown pass there late in the game. I think he made it 24-14. Kind of give Michigan life there again.
I think it was his only catch, but at least it was for a touchdown.
Right, it was a great catch too. It was a bullet from Milton. He laid out in the end zone, caught it. I like what I'm seeing from that kid. I don't know what's happened to Mike Sanders still, if he's still playing, if he was there this week. I don't think I heard his name called once.
I'm not sure.
I don't know, man. I know they had Henning in there a few times, missed him on a couple of deep throws. But overall, we'll keep this pretty short as far as the Michigan recap this week because, man, there's just not a whole
lot to talk about.
There's not a whole lot of positives to go on.
I will say one thing there, and I didn't realize this until I was looking at the stats. Penix targeted failure 21 times.
21 times. Unreal.
He caught 11 of them. But he's targeting 21 times.
That's
unreal.
Just
insane.
Absolutely unreal. Well, let's go ahead. Before we even get to the end of the show, let's go ahead and throw out our players of the game, offense, defense. I'll let you give the Seth Brookhuizen Award first. I'll let you just do it this week. It's yours. Your show for the Seth Brookhuizen Award.
Okay. There's a few I could probably give it to, but keeping it true with how it has been for this season, I've got to give the Seth Brookhuizen Award back to Vincent Gray.
I can't argue.
He's just, until he can prove that he is able to play his position correctly. I think there was one time I think he actually turned his head around and knocked the ball down. Mm-hmm. Other than that, it was constant. He just looked at the receiver the whole time. Not one. He never again after that did he turn around, look for the ball. He just played the receiver's head and just stayed right beside him. And he got burnt again continuously. So that's my Seth Burkheisen award for this week.
And again, back to Gray for a minute. I feel bad for the kid because again, the kid's out there trying his best, and
I agree.
He's not succeeding, man. Something needs to change.
Yeah.
Something needs to change now.
His best needs to get a whole lot better.
Absolutely. Well, shifting gears back, man. Who's your player of the game for us? We won't even worry about them. I mean, you could pick anybody from them, but let's just stick with Michigan. That's our team. Let's ride it highs and lows. Give me your player of the game.
Player of the game for us. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of bright spots on the defense. And sticking to our team alone, I'm going to have to give it to Ronnie Bell. Milton seemed to be more poised in the pocket, other than the 2 picks that he did throw, which obviously hurt. But it was late in the game. You're trying to make some stuff happen. Things are going to happen that way. But I was really happy to see Ronnie Bell get into the mix. 6 catches for 149 and a touchdown. So, in my opinion, that's the bright spot.
Mm-hmm.
That's my guess. Or my player of the game for us.
Mine, I'm going a different direction, man. I think, I had 2, and you took Ronnie Bell. I think, obviously, offensively, he stepped up big time, had a great game. Like you said, 6 catches, 149 yards, a touchdown. But I'm going to give mine to Brad Robbins, the punter. I mean, 7 punts, 375 yards, 53.6 average. Like, he kind of kept us in the game there, giving us good field position. Great game. I think the punters get overlooked a lot, and he really stepped up and came through. So, Brad Robbins is my, Michigan player of the game for this game.
I can agree with that. I just hate the fact that you actually have to give a player of the game to a punter.
I know, right?
Like, never should you have to have a punter punt 7-8 times in a game.
Yep. You should never know. If you have a great team, to me, you should never know the name of your kicker or your field goal kicker or your punter. If they come out, they do their job, what they're supposed to do, you should never know their names because typically you only know them if they're bad. Hence the Seth Burkheisen Player of the Game Award. Right? You only remember those guys who weren't great. But, all right, man. Well, again, dude, short and sweet this week with the Michigan the Michigan talk. The recap, man, I just don't know. It's frustrating. Talked to our buddy Don. He texted me after the game yesterday. He was wanting some cursing out of me on here today, even though he knows I don't do that. So I told him I'd give him a couple doggone it's, dang it's, a couple of those. So Don, I'm doggone upset.
Trying to keep it PG rated on this.
Absolutely. Well, I do that anyway, but So for our buddy Don, you can let him know that I'm doggone upset about this.
We'll let him know. He's been listening, so he'll hear it.
I'll tell you what, Don. Also, a shout out to Don for a big win by his Bills today, beating the Seahawks. I don't know where that came from, but
I don't either. But they, I was going to bet. I stayed away from that game just because it seems that the last few times I have bet the Bills, whether it will be to cover or not cover, they got me. So I saw that, and had I actually played that game, I would have taken the Seahawks.
Right.
And it was close. I think it was only like 3.5 points.
Oh wow!
But I was like, nope, I'm not doing that one.
Staying away.
Doesn't matter though because I lost anyways.
Staying away from that. Well, all right, man. Well, let's go on a little bit more kind of a roundup around the Big Ten, starting with Maryland Penn State, dude. Did you get to see any of that game?
I did not see any of it. I saw the highlights.
My Lord.
It seems as though Penn State is pretty much right in the same boat that we are.
Right. Exactly right. Exactly right. I mean,
when you think of, the Big Ten, you think especially on our side of the division, when you've got Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan, those four, those should be, and has been for quite a while, your top four on that side.
Mm-hmm.
And 3 of those teams are, 0-3, 1-2? I mean, you've got Indiana and in Northwestern and Minnesota. I mean, some of these other teams that you just normal. Maryland. What are they? Are they more 2-1 or 3-0?
I think they're 2-1.
Okay. I hadn't really looked at all the standings today, from the games yesterday. But I mean, it's just the standings are just completely opposite of what you would think that they are.
Right. To see Penn State start off with, to me, Penn State's always they're kind of like Michigan. They're kind of always a little bit ranked higher than they should be at the beginning of the year, unfortunately. But man, they've been the team, the last few years, they've been the team that really, gave the Buckeyes fits in the Big Ten for whatever reason.
Yeah, and some of the other bigger teams, too, that they've played, they've actually had quite a few upsets.
But, man, Maryland came in to Happy Valley, put it on them 35-19, but it wasn't even that close. Maryland come in, 7 sacks, return fumble for a touchdown. They put it on them, man. And Maryland's playing well. They got a lot of speed on that team. Clifford had a decent game for Penn State, but again, he had to throw a lot and he had to scramble a lot. And he's got the one big receiver, Jahan Dotson, I believe is his name, who had the big game against Ohio State the week before. But there's
and Tagovailoa is the quarterback, right? Isn't that Tua's brother?
It is. Yep. So got some good genes there, obviously. But it's like we said, Penn State, struggling at 0-3 right now. Then Michigan State goes into an 0-2 Iowa and just gets their lunch money taken from them. Man, lost 49-7.
Yeah, after destroying us last week.
Lombardi goes in and throws 3 picks after not turning the ball over at all last week. Iowa has a punt return for a touchdown, an interception return for a touchdown, and that game was over before you knew it. I mean, it was done. Ferentz, finally got Iowa off the schneid. They're 1-2 now, but that was shocking to me.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that, especially after Michigan State, put it on us the week before. You would think, hey, they've turned it around, they figured some stuff out, and obviously not.
Right. Minnesota goes and gets his first win of the season over Illinois, 41-14. Our guy, Muhammad Ibrahim, the running back, 30 carries, 224 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Just a hoss.
I said it a couple weeks ago, man, that kid's a beast. I wouldn't doubt it at all if he gets drafted. I'm not going to say he's going to be first round, but I think he will be a pretty decent draft pick.
I think so.
I really do, because he's going to be a big workhorse.
From the little bit I've seen, his body type, he just seems like a bruiser.
Yep, I agree.
And they had Rashad Bateman, had 10 catches for 139 at TD. So nice for Minnesota to get off the schneid, again, against a really depleted and pretty bad Illinois team right now. Illinois is 0-3 as well. You had Northwestern. Man, Northwestern remains undefeated. They're 3-0. They went and Nebraska came to town, and they beat Nebraska 21-13. Nebraska kind of outplayed them a little bit as far as yards go, but, Northwestern, man, scrappy team, hung on and won.
They always are, man. They always are.
They're so much fun to watch. I think they have a little kid named Drake Anderson, little running back, who scored a big touchdown early in the game. And man, that kid got around the corner and he was gone. Just turned on the Jets, dude. So much fun to watch. I love Fitzgerald. They're my second favorite team in the Big Ten to watch. So nice to see them playing well. On that side of the division, they're at the top with Purdue, who's only 2-0. Their game against Wisconsin was canceled this week. Wisconsin's still sitting there at 1-0. Who knows if Michigan, Wisconsin play this coming week or not? We're kind of waiting on that, that ruling to come down. But obviously, the last game, in the Big Ten, Ohio State beats Rutgers 49-27. I think Rutgers maybe pulled out four or five trick plays in the game. But still, to put up 27 against that OSU defense, it shows that there's holes here and there. But Ohio State, man, is just, goodness gracious, they're so good. Fields continues. Fields is the Heisman Trophy winner. 24 for 28, 314, 5 touchdowns through the air, 1 rushing touchdown. So right now, obviously, Ohio State top 3 in the country. And Fields, to me,
for sure.
To me, it's not even close right now. And unless something catastrophic happens, Fields will win the Heisman, and I think he wins it running away.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I could agree with that. Like you said, their defense, it does show that there are some holes if they can give up 27 points to a Rutgers team.
Mm-hmm.
But, taking it back to some Rich Rodriguez days, you might get 27 points scored against you as long as you can score, 50 against their defense, you'll be all right.
Absolutely. And, Greg Schiano's the coach there at Rutgers, comes from Columbus. I'm sure he has a little insight into what they're running and has a little bit. He can game plan a little bit better for him. But still, man, still to see a Rutgers team put up 29 or 29 or 27 against Ohio State scares me for when we play them. We play them in a couple weeks, so it's like, man, I'm nervous. There's not one game left on our schedule. Unfortunately, we don't get Illinois this year. Usually that's kind of like, okay, I can relax a little bit. We got Illinois. We don't have Nebraska on the schedule this year.
No, but like you said, there's no games where you can just be like, okay, we should win this pretty easily.
Right.
Because if that's the case, I would have thought this, yesterday would have been that game. Or I would have hoped that it would have been. But Indiana comes in and just does whatever they want.
I'll tell you what, man. I really like Indiana's coach, Allen. I really like him. I like the way he conducts himself. I like the post-game pressers, and I like seeing him in the locker room with his kids. You can tell. I don't know if you saw it when one of the guys came up with a big stop, and he come over and basically tackled the kid. It was supposed to be like a chest bump, but he tackled the kid, helped him up afterwards. Just that excitement. That's the stuff that Harbaugh's he doesn't have right now. Nor should he, I guess, with getting beat these last two games. But man, you've completely lost your team. That's what you need, some of that fire that Fleck has, that Allen has, that Day has, that Fitzgerald has. But he doesn't have it, unfortunately, and I don't know why.
And your own kids, when you do that, your own kids feed off of that.
Absolutely.
When you show that emotion, they take that in and they turn it into their own emotion.
100%.
And you hope that then it just spreads throughout the team. And right, like you said the whole time, it starts at the top. And right now, the top just ain't. Dude, I don't got it.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, man, I don't know what it's going to take. I think I'm just hoping we can go 500 this year. How sad is that to say as a Michigan, fan? Man, I hope we can go 500.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
We had two huge games on the schedule this week without Big Ten implications. You had Florida, Georgia. I don't know if you were able to catch any of that game.
I did. I actually saw a good bit of that one.
Wow. Florida. And how good did Florida look?
Yeah.
Kyle Trask looked amazing.
I agree. Florida has really, in the past couple of years, they've really turned the corner from, back when they were really, really good, and they kind of dropped off for, a few years, had some rough years, but, man, they've come storming back. And they looked really good. I would not have expected them to play Georgia the way that they did, but I was very impressed with what I saw.
Georgia started off that game with like a 76-yard run for a touchdown, and it was on, man. It was a track meet for the first quarter and a half, and then Florida they went to town. Trask ended up 30 for 43, 474, and 4 touchdowns, but he really didn't even have to throw in the second half. I think he went into halftime right at 400 yards.
Yeah, that's just insane.
And he made it look so easy. I mean, he was, running backs running wheel routes. He was finding receivers wide open down the middle. He's got a couple huge receivers he can throw to, 6'4", 6'5". These guys can go up and get the ball. And watching that's what I told Dad, was watching a little bit of it with me. I said, man, Michigan misses that. They don't have that guy who could, even if the quarterback, makes a bad pass, this guy can go up and get it. That's one thing we don't have, and
right.
It really is hurting us. Speaking of going back to Michigan for a second, I don't know if you saw former pledge Marcus Allen, who decommitted from us about a month ago, committed today to Wisconsin. So he's going to be heading up to Madison to play next year. Okay. Yeah. So, but that was a big game, big win for Florida. I think we're going to see, obviously that SEC is going to be between Florida and Georgia, or Florida and Alabama. I think that gives Georgia 2 losses now. They lost the heartbreaker there to Alabama. They were in it for the first couple quarters, and then Alabama ran away with it.
Yeah, it was really close. I mean, they were back and forth, and then that pretty much second half, that Florida just took away.
Right, man. Those good teams in the fourth quarter, they just, you might hang with them for 2.5, 3 quarters, and then they kick it into a different gear that most teams don't have.
Mm-hmm.
And then the big game of the night, man, Notre Dame. Clemson comes into Notre Dame without Trevor Lawrence.
I didn't see all of it.
big hype for the game. My buddy Josh, our buddy Josh came down.
Right.
We watched it outside, had the fire pit going, watched it on the 100-inch screen outside, and man, what a game. Obviously, our feelings for Notre Dame are similar to most Michigan fans' feelings for Notre Dame. But watching that game last night, I'm sold, man.
That's pretty much hate. No offense to Josh, but that's pretty much hatred.
But I tell you, I'm sold this year. I'm sold.
I can't argue with it. I mean, look what they did. Yeah, they didn't have Trevor Lawrence, but I don't even know how to pronounce that guy's last name, but he was like a top 3 quarterback coming out of high school.
Yeah.
He should be. I'm not going to say he's Trevor Lawrence, but he shouldn't be too far behind.
I'll tell you.
And I mean, he should be able to come in and run the offense just about the same as Trevor Lawrence can.
And he did.
For Notre Dame to go in, yeah. And for Notre Dame to go and do what they did, don't get me wrong, I despise Brian Kelly as a coach. I always have since he was at Cincinnati. I hate the way that he presents himself. He is so arrogant and just. I don't like the way he comes across with his kids. I mean, I've seen on the sideline, I've seen him scream at those kids until he is legit purple in the face. Mm-hmm. And that's just not the way I like to see coaches conduct the way that they coach the game. Does it work? Apparently, they took them there.
Dude,
they're ranked number 4, and they just beat the number 1 team in the country.
We're at a point right now where if I would hire a coach who would slap a kid's mama on the sideline if it got us to beat the number 1 team in the country. I'm with you on that. I think most Irish fans probably aren't super fans of Kelly either, but man, he's bringing results, and he's.
You can't argue with that.
I'm a believer this year, and it's hard to say that with Ian Book as the quarterback. This is the same team that came into Ann Arbor last year, and Michigan just blew them up. And they go on and beat the number 1 team in the country in 2 overtimes, 47-40. Book ended up 22 for 39, 310 yards, a touchdown. A big thing with him, man, on his feet. He had 15 carries for 68 yards. He was able to scramble, keep drives going. Kyron Williams.
That was huge. That was real big for him to be able to move outside the pocket, evade his defenders coming at him, and extend the plays. That's really a huge difference in that game.
Absolutely. Kyron Williams, the running back at Notre Dame, had 23 carries, 140 yards, and 3 TDs. And as we said, Lawrence wasn't there, but Uiagalelei comes in. I think I just got that right. How about that? Uiagalelei, yeah, right?
You know what? Even if it wasn't right, it sounded good.
The kid goes 29 for 44. 439 yards and 2 touchdowns. That should be enough to win any game. But I think the key to that game, Notre Dame shut down Travis Etienne. They shut him down. Yes. He had 18 carries for 28 yards. Etienne is probably, if he's not the best, he's top 3 best running backs in college football. So for him, for Notre Dame to kind of bottle him up, but that's man, huge. What a game! Again, it's nice not having a dog in the fight. You're sitting out there watching it with you're watching it with one of your best friends who's a huge Notre Dame fan. Typically, I'd be rooting against Notre Dame, but it's like, man, whatever.
You still were. Don't give it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, probably a little bit on the inside. My team got pimp smacked earlier in the day, so I can't. Yeah. All my emotion for sports is kind of gone anyway at that point. So I'm just sitting there, kind of enjoying it. And it was. I mean, it's a heck of a game.
It was a really good game.
Yeah, so kudos to them, man, and
give a shout out to Josh. If I'm not going to say they're going to jump to number 1 because obviously I'd say Alabama will and Ohio State's going to be there, but they'll obviously be in the top 3 and well deserved.
Absolutely, dude. Good segue right there. I'm looking at the new poll that just came out today for the rankings. I
haven't seen it yet.
Alabama is your number 1 team. Number 2, Notre Dame. They jumped up from 4. I think they were at number 4 or number 5. They jumped up to number 2 this week after the big win.
They were 4. And I completely agree with putting them above Ohio State, at least for right now. I mean, you're number 4 and you beat the number 1 team in the country. Why would you not deserve to be number 2?
Absolutely. And I think it's not a knock against the Buckeyes because they've only 2 games in. So I think it's only fair Notre Dame is, Notre Dame's schedule's pretty.
Yeah, well, they're 7-0, 8-0.
Right, and their schedule's pretty easy. So this was their toughest challenge of the year, and they
Sure.
they went out and they won. So I think putting them at number 2. Now at the end of the year, do I think it changes once Ohio State plays all their games? They'll probably be 1 or 2, rightfully so. But Ohio State number 3. I'm just going to jump to the next Big Ten team in the rankings, which is Indiana at number 10. So how about that? Indiana ranked number 10. Wisconsin still, they're at 1-0, ranked 13. I don't quite understand that. They should probably be completely taken out of the rankings. But
I agree.
for right now, they're sitting there. And number 23, Northwestern, crept in this week. So that's the Big Ten standings. Again, Ohio State at 3, Indiana at 10, Wisconsin at 13, and Northwestern at 23. So no Penn State, no Michigan State, no Michigan. I wonder how long it's been since you saw that with none of those 3 teams ranked in the top 25.
I don't really know, but I can guarantee you I don't like it.
Me either, man.
Like you said, it's been a while since that's happened. But kudos to those teams who have got it together and are figuring it out and being able to pull off these wins to get themselves in the position they need to be in.
And the Pac-12, Pac-12 started back up yesterday.
I watched what was the late game last night?
We had Oregon and Stanford.
Oregon's well, I didn't. I saw a little bit of that, but I was watching the Washington State and Oregon State game. I watched a little bit of that.
Okay.
And it was pretty good for what I saw. Back and forth. They seem really fast.
I know, it's unreal. It's unreal watching.
Yeah.
The difference when you watch the Big Ten, Ohio State has that component. Northwestern has that component to a point. Penn State to a point, but you don't see that anywhere else in the Big Ten, man. These guys just fly around. It's kind of Pac-12, SEC. Even Oklahoma Oklahoma again yesterday, 69 points, just unbelievable. But these teams are just so fast. It just blows my mind. All right, man. Well, next week on the docket, we got Iowa versus Minnesota on Friday night to kick off the Big Ten week. At noon, you got Illinois, Rutgers, Penn State, Nebraska, Indiana, Michigan State. 3:30, you got Ohio State and Maryland. And then a night game, Saturday night at 7:30, you got, hopefully, Wisconsin and Michigan. So we'll kind of see how that goes. And I think we got a little guest, little friend that wants to come in and give his prediction on the Wisconsin-Michigan game. So if you want to bring our little buddy in.
We do. Let me find him. He's on his way up. While he's on his way up, I'll go ahead and give you my thoughts on the whole subject. Wisconsin, hopefully, like we said, they play due to COVID and everything. If Wisconsin plays, obviously their quarterback's pretty good. Wisconsin's always that team who, if they can get ahead, they will run the ball into the ground. And my guess is that's unfortunately what's going to happen. I do think it'll be fairly close for the beginning of the game, but overall, I got a feeling that we're going to fall behind the 8 ball again. Get down by maybe a touchdown and field goal, and Wisconsin's pretty much just going to run the ball into the ground and take it over from there. So I'll go ahead and throw my prediction out as far as that goes. I think it's a fairly close game for a while, and eventually Wisconsin runs away with it towards the end. So my prediction is Wisconsin wins 31-24.
With obviously my gut and my head sometimes are competing and telling me different things, but Michigan's given me zero reason to pick them anymore. Until they show something the next couple games, I don't know what I'm going to say, But for this game with Wisconsin being out 3 weeks, haven't played, 1-0, their guys are going to be probably healthy and strong. I don't know symptom-wise if they've been experiencing any symptoms or whatever, but man, it's they're fresh. We're banged up. We got a lot of guys banged up. Like you said, they're going to get in there. They're going to pound the ball. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. Unfortunately, I think Milton probably makes a couple big mistakes. I think Wisconsin wins 24-17. A couple of picks for Milton, unfortunately. And I don't think our running game against Wisconsin's big D line, I don't think our running backs are going to get on track with, we have that banged up line, man. If Mayfield's not back, if Hayes isn't back, it's just a patchwork right now at the offensive line position. Unfortunately, it's coming at a time when we're trying to play, a big bruising team like Wisconsin. So I'm going to say Wisconsin wins 24-17.
Yeah, that's not too far off from what I said. All right, Adam, what do you think?
All right, this is our guest picker for this week, Adam Dunn. Bub's son Adam's going to come on and give us a guest pick. So, Adam, what do you think, buddy? Give us Wisconsin, Michigan next weekend.
Wisconsin, Michigan. Honestly, I think that'd be a pretty close game. I have not seen much of Wisconsin, especially from last week.
Played one game.
Yeah.
Due to COVID.
I did hear they're pretty good, and they have a good quarterback. I think it'll be close, but I think Wisconsin will get it 35-28.
Okay, I like it. High scoring. I like it. Hopefully we're all wrong, and hopefully Michigan can finally get a little momentum going. I don't know if that's going to happen this year, but hopefully we're all wrong and Michigan comes out with a win.
Sure hope so.
Me too.
Well, guys, we'll wrap it up. A little bit quicker version this week. I appreciate you guys coming on. We'll have a little bit better outcome to talk about next week.
Yeah, I certainly hope so.
All right, guys. Well, until next week, go Blue.
Go Blue.
Go Blue.
Well, there you go, guys. That was the episode. Thanks again, everybody who tuned in. We appreciate you listening each week. Thanks to Bub's son, Adam, who hopefully will become a main part of the show each week where he comes in and gives his picks. One thing I did want to touch on, a listener of the show, Vince Crace, had talked about, wanted to hear a little bit more about the targeting rule and what we thought. Vince, I didn't forget you. I just want to do a little bit more research, so hopefully next week's episode we'll be able to talk about targeting a little bit more and discuss the pros and cons and what we've seen so far as what's being called, what's not being called. We'll delve into that a little bit further, but that'll be on next week's show. Again, guys, for my co-host Bub Dunn, I'm Brent Ewing, and thanks for listening to Brent Ewing's Hey Buddy podcast.